Surah Al-Mumtahanah. Surah Al-Mumtahanah consists of 13 verses, including the Madaniyyah surahs, revealed after Surah Al Ahzab. It is called Al-Mumtahanah, which means tested woman, taken from the word Famtahinuuhunna, which means test them, found in verse 10 of this chapter. The main contents of Surah Al-Mumtahanah. Prohibition of making someone from an enemy group a loyal friend. It is mentioned in Surah Al-Mumtahanah verses 1-6. These verses remind believers not to make the enemies of Allah and their enemies loyal friends, even though they hide things that should be kept secret out of compassion. They were also told that their relatives and children would not benefit them on the day of resurrection, because Allah would separate them. In the example of Ibrahim and his followers, there is a good role model for people who hope in Allah's reward and salvation in the next day, where Ibrahim and his followers free themselves from disbelief and hope in Allah's forgiveness. They also asked not to be used as a slander against the disbelievers and asked for forgiveness and acknowledged the power and wisdom of Allah. Relations between Muslims and non-believers who are not hostile to Islam are not prohibited. It is mentioned in Surah Al-Mumtahanah verses 7-9. These verses emphasize the importance of acting fairly and doing good towards people who are not hostile in religious matters and do not drive them away from their hometown, while avoiding close friendships with people who fight in religious matters, expelling them from their hometowns, and assisting in expulsion because they were considered unjust. God confirms that His mercy, power, forgiveness, and mercy are present among His people. Treatment of believing women who enter Islamic areas. It is mentioned in Surah Al-Mumtahanah, verses 10-13. These verses emphasize the importance of testing the faith of believing women who emigrate, so that they are not returned to unbelievers as wives. Allah establishes laws regarding dowry and marriage between believers and unbelievers, and warns against making people who are angry with Allah as close friends. Believers are asked to accept the allegiance of believing women who pledge allegiance to Allah with the hope of forgiveness from Him. These laws were established by Allah, who is all-knowing and all-wise. Conclusion of Surah Al-Mumtahanah. This chapter discusses interactions between Muslims and non-Muslims in the context of war and peace, as well as in terms of marriage. In the laws outlined, there is a prohibition on establishing friendly relations with infidels who are hostile to Islam, while friendship with infidels who are not hostile to Islam is permitted. This chapter also explains the marriage laws for those who change religions. Apart from that, the story of the Prophet Ibrahim, Alaihi Salam, and his people is used as an example and role model for believers in interacting with the people around them.